830 Mechanoid English input, enter. Episode 46 of the Dudley Simpson is Doctor Who Project. Enter, enter, 0, stop. If you're wondering what all that means, it means just how it sounds. This episode goes way back to Season 2. Not my Season 2, the show's Season 2. And the bonkers can't help but love it Dalek story, The Chase. That's the earliest Simpsons story from which I've transcribed so far. In episodes 12 and 13 of the project, I presented a suite of related themes, plus the whirlwind music of the Empire State Building. In preparing for the episode 12 suite, there was one bit of music I wanted to transcribe, but ultimately decided it wasn't right for the suite. Unlike episode 41's The Hopper of Death, this piece never got transcribed, although I did play around with it by ear. In preparing for Season 2, my Season 2, I knew it was time for this piece to have its day. In the cliffhanger to episode 5 of The Chase, the Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Vicky are rescued from a Dalek assault by a Mechanoid, a robot for whom the name Buckminster Fulleroid was obviously too long. The robot intones English words, but they don't make obvious sense. Kind of like me. As events resume in episode 6, the Mechanoid takes our heroes up via lift to a gleaming white city supported by stilts above the inhospitable surface of the planet. This brief musical cue begins as the travelers gaze incredulously at the city and we see a view of the Mechanoid gliding through the entry corridor, then a wide shot of the entire structure. Simpsons music evokes the wonder, awe, and trepidation of our friends and ourselves. Enter. Follow. Into the Mechanoid City. The Chase was the first time Dudley Simpson used electronics in one of his Doctor Who scores, although in 1965 this simply meant an electric organ. For Into the Mechanoid City, the organ, clarinet, vibraphone, and cello make up the quartet of instruments. The parts are easily delineated, mostly. The organ is responsible for long-held chords made almost entirely of fifths and octaves. The melody is a duo of clarinet and vibraphone. The cello is probably the hardest to hear because it's playing rather softly, but it's creating an unusual sound on the instrument, and it's too bad it's not very audible on the soundtrack. Two effects are combined: tremolo, a rapid repetition on the same note, and sol ponticello, playing on or near the bridge of the instrument, which brings out more high harmonics on the strings and thus creates a thin, nasal sound. Together, these effects make a slightly scratchy, creepy cello. Sadly, all this is for naught on the piano because, although I have certainly tremoloed in pieces before and actually do at the end of this piece, it would be more bothersome than effective. Here, I'm not even sure how I would create sol ponticello sound on the piano strings even if I could. Many of the cello notes seem to be doubling organ notes anyway. A quick side note, a link to the audio soundtrack from the program is found in the description of all Season 2 videos, so you can easily hear for yourself the source of my transcriptions. Now to the melody and harmony, which is, of course, what attracted me in the first place. As I mentioned, the organ harmonies are fifths and octaves, but the opening sound is an interesting exception. Rather than the upper notes doubling the lower, as will be normal, the two sets of perfect fifths here are a half step apart from each other, based on A below, but based on G sharp above. The melody also begins on A and rises first a tritone, then a major third up to G trilled with F sharp. As if there weren't enough colorful clashes already, what I think is the cello sinks down from G sharp to G natural underneath. That makes A, G sharp, G natural, F sharp together. All this makes for a wondrous, strange entrance. Presently, the organ commences its open-sounding harmonies, sinking chromatically in a set of 3, then 4 chords. Above, the clarinet vibraphone melody evokes the city's grandeur with its own chromatic line, but featuring leaps of octaves in either direction, as if Simpson is depicting the height of the city with these wide intervals. Note the juicy second chord with the minor ninth G natural above G flat harmony. By playing the melody without octave shifts, you can see just how chromatic this melody is. This first melodic phrase comes to rest on C sharp, which with A and E in the bass underneath makes a happy major chord. These bass notes, though, are the first of the organ's second set of harmonies and sync at once under the melody's C sharp. As the melody starts its second phrase, the harmonies form two of the same dissonant type. First, the melody, then the cello, at last audible in the soundtrack, sound the minor sixth above the bass. These chords mix our feelings of awe and trepidation. The melody continues to rise steadily, with the tempo pulling back slightly, and as it reaches D natural, the major sixth above F bass, there is one dramatic beat of silence. The final measure is a marvel to behold, a beautifully rich D-flat major triad sounds, and is so wide I had to delay the bass note briefly. The melody climaxes atop this structure on E natural, the sharp ninth, a similar chord featured in the last episode, used in a jazz context. Instantly, the organ is making its own tremolo of two clusters warbling in the high register. These ethereal sounds are made of E and F, found in the harmony below, and A and B, the minor sixth and minor seventh. As if we weren't way up in the clouds already, the vibraphone adds two solo notes, E flat, the major ninth, causing even more gleam with the E natural, F natural already sounding, and A natural, the same minor sixth, warbling above. Like we've experienced with other weird harmonies before, this 7-note chord works because the foundation, D-flat major, is utterly familiar. So although our eyes might widen at the sound of this edifice, our ears remain unafraid. Less than 30 seconds long, you can see why I wanted this piece for my collection. I hope you enjoyed the input, English, and music of episode 46 of the Dudley Simpson is Doctor Who Project. Thank you so much to my Patreons who make videos like this possible and see these videos first, lucky devils. Patreon.com/Jess Jurkovic to subscribe. I also take tips And you can go to ko-fi.com/Jess Jurkovic to support me in that way too. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thanks for watching. See you next time.